This is Gemara Baba Basra Daf Mem Beis, and we're holding in the bottom of Mem Aleph Amid Beis, 5 lines from the bottoms. From the bottom, a new case as the Gemara. Shleisha likuchais mitzarfim. What happens when we have subsequent buyers, 3 subsequent purchasers of a field, and let's say each one was there for a year? So after the third person, is there a chazaka? Says the Gemara, yes, mitzdarfim. The 3 combine to create a chazaka. Amara v'kulam bishtar. They all need that their mechira was done with a shtar. And in such a scenario, then we're going to have a chazaka after the third person. Says the Gemara, Lemimra, it sounds like, from the fact that Rav says it needs to be done with a shtar, Tisava Rav holds, shtar is lekala. Sounds like Rav is of the opinion that a shtar has a kol, that a shtar is that which everyone knows about, and that's why it's going to become public, and that's how you'll have a chazaka. But v'edim laslu kala. Sounds like Rav is teaching us. But let's say they're edim. There's no shtar, but you sold the field to the edim. It sounds like Rav would hold it wouldn't work. Asks the Gemara, and why can you collect from mishubadim encumbered properties? Clearly because there's a call. Says the Gemara, Hasam, in the case of mishubadim, lukuchais, that when people are buying the other fields, inu anavsir, they're causing the loss to themselves. As the Rashbam speaks out, why? They're throwing their money out. Why? Because they should have looked into the matter and known what's going on, and they didn't do that, therefore they lost it. But with regard to Kulach Shalosh Lekuchais, says the Rashbam 3 lines down, there's no call when someone buys something without a shtar. The original owner had no reason to think that, wait, I have to make a macha, etc. And therefore, it will only work according to Rav if it is a mechira bishtar. Says the Gemara, Umi Amar Rav Hachi. But does Rav really say this, that when it comes to collecting from the chasim mishubadim, it's only if it was sold bishtar? V'atanam, but we learned in a Mishnah, someone who lends money to his friend with a shtar, government chasim mishubadim. So what do we see? We see that mishubadim only works if it's collected, if it's bishtar. We just quoted Rav, that Rav said, you would collect from mechasim mishubadim, but here we see it's only if it was a mechira bishtar. Says the Gemara, maybe you're going to tell 4 lines down in Beis Amid Health. Rav Tanu Balik, maybe Rav argues with the Mishnah. But Rav Ushmuel Damer Tavayu, they both are recorded as saying, Milval Pein Gaivelomini Arshiv Leminalakuchais. So says the Gemara, Rav himself says it. Answers the Gemara, Milva Zvini Karamis. What's your kasha? The case that you're asking from is a milva. Our original case was a mechira, a sale. Malva ki yaziv b'tzinika yaziv. People lend money privately. Why? So as if everyone finds out, then his property is going to go down in value, because everyone will know he needs the cash. Whereas Zvini, when you sell something, said there could be a call. You want people to bid on your property. You want to get the greatest price, and therefore says the Gemara, you can't ask from our case of mechira from a case of halvaya. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbana. Let's go back to our original case that we started with today, which was what? Shleisha lekucha is creating a chazaka together. Says the Braisa, Achla av shana v'ben shtayim, or av shtayim v'ben shana. ha'av shana va'ben shana v'lakech shana harezu chazaka. Says the Brisa, we started off today saying that 3 people could create a chazaka, 3 subsequent purchasers, and Rav amended and added on that it has to be bishtar. Says the Brisa, a father and his son, or a father, son, and purchaser could combine to create a chazaka. Says the Gemara, Lememra, this means to say the lokeches leikala. Sounds that way because that was the last case, a father, son, and a lokeach, and we said it creates a chazaka. For Imini, I'll ask you a stira. If someone was in one else's field in front of the father for a year, 2 years in front of the child, or or Harezu chazakam v'is al gedaitach. And if you're going to tell me, lokeach is leikala ein lecha macha gedayle mezu. Because what's this case? That first Reuven's in my field, then Reuven's son's in my field, and then I sell the field to someone else. So if there's a call when you sell it, the mere act of the owner selling it should be a macha. Then I'm protesting the other person's ownership. So how can you tell me the lokeach is lechazaka call? Amar Abba kitani b'moicher sadasav stam. That someone sold his field, the son sold the field, Sam, he did not specify such properties, and therefore there's no way that someone could have made a macha based on that, because it's not considered a macha, because no one knows the fields that he sold, and therefore that's the reason why it's not going to be a kasha. Says the Gemara, now we go into cases which are non an chazaka, scenarios that you would not create a chazaka via being in someone else's property. Why not? It says the Mishnah, ha'umna and craftsmen, vashutfim partners, harisin sharecroppers, excuse me, vapotroipin, and a poitripin that Bezdin puts in someone else's field. Ein lahem chazaka. All these do not create a chazaka, for the simple reason that none of them have full rights to the field. They have reasons to be there at specific times, but they're not necessarily, and therefore the fact that he's in the field for X amount of years is not going to prove anything. Similarly, says the Mishnah, for the same reason, you could go into their field. But says the Gemara, says the Mishnah, excuse me, when is this applicable? B'machzik. One who established a chazaka to show that it says avol b'naisin matana. But if someone gives a matana, or achav shal chalku, brothers that divide an estate, or v'machzik b'nechsei ger, someone who makes a chazaka the properties of a ger, na'al kader uparatz, shut the door, he locked it, or he made a hole through the fence, kolshu areizu chazaka, then it is a chazaka. Once the owner allows the person to do any of these actions, that on its own creates the chazaka. So it's only not a chazaka, says the Mishnah b'machzik, that if this is the way to create your chazaka, but if it goes together with something else, a first cousin really to the previous Mishnah, that you need a taina. If it goes together with something else, then it would be a chazaka. And we turn over to Membeis Amebis. Says the Gemara, going back to the first part of the Mishnah. The first part of the Mishnah taught us that certain people's, their being in the field does not create a chazaka, an uman, or shutfim. Says the Gemara, Avua de Shmuel, the father of Shmuel, the Levi, and Levi, Tana Shutif, they learned Shutif ein loy chazaka, v'kolshkein uman. Whereas Shmuel Tani uman ein lo chazaka, avol Shutif yesh lo chazaka. So machlok is between Abu Shmuel and Levi and Shmuel himself, whether it's both a Shutif and an uman, or is an uman the one that doesn't have a chazaka, but a Shutif would yes have a chazaka. Says the Gemara, where does this come from? Va'az the Shmuel Taimei. Shmuel that said that a shotif would yes have a chazaka is l'shitasai. 4 lines down, mebeiz and mebeiz, the Amar Shmuel. Hashotfin machzikin zel zeh. Shotvin could create a chazaka one on another. Umeidin zeh al zeh. And they can testify one about the other. V'nasin shomer sachar zeh lo zeh. So Shmuel in the first din is teaching us that what Hashotzin machzikin zeh al zeh, fitting his din that we just quoted, that Shotzvim yes have a chazaka, unlike our Mishnah and unlike Avua, the Shmuel, and Levi. Asks the Gemara 6 lines down, Astira within Shmuel. Ramalei Rav Abba Rav Yehuda. Rav Abba asked Rav Yehuda b'Ma'arta Devei Rav Zakai, by the Ma'ara, by the cave of Rav Zakai. Mi Amar Shmuel. Does Shmuel really say Shotev Yishal Chazaka? V'Amar Shmuel Shotev Ki Yered B'Shostami. Says Shmuel elsewhere that what is a Shotev considered? Like someone who goes down with rishos, like a sharecropper. Lav lemeimer deshotev eloy chazaka. By saying he's going down with permission, that seemingly is the greatest indication that it's as if the other partner allowed him to be there. So it's never going to create a chazaka. Says the Gemara, loy kasha. No, that's not a kasha. Ha denachis lekula, ha denachis lepalga. One is where he was in the whole field. That's when it will be a chazaka. One is when he's in half the field. Amrule lahaygisa v'amrule lahaygisa. Excuse me, some explain each one. You can explain it both ways. I just said it one way, that when you're in the whole field, it is a chazaka. But some say the opposite as well. Teretz number 1. Ravina Amar, Teretz number 2. Hava denachas lekula. Both of them are talking about where he's in the entire field. And yet, it's not a stira within Shmuel whether Shotvim have a chazaka. Ha'de'isba din chaluka, ha'delesba din chaluka. When you say you yes have chazaka is when there's a din chaluka in the field. One is when there is no din chaluka on this field. Let's see the Rashbam for a moment to explain the shita of Ravina. Ravina Amar Haba Denachas Lekula Hada Isli Din Chaluka. Arba Amos Lazev Armas Lazed is enough for each of them 4 Amos. Therefore, Avi Chazaka to keep on the Egypt. Kidei Lazeu, Kidei Lazeh, Inay Minog Laniach Echel Lahaktim Lechaver Gimel Shaim. No one's going to let the other one to be in his part for 3 years. Elam Kemach Lechalkai. Why? Because each one has a sizable portion of Dalet Amos. Whereas if it doesn't have a Din Chaluka, then it would not create the Chazaka. Says the Gemara 6 lines from the bottom, wrapping up the sheet of Shmuel Gufa. Amar Shmuel, we just quoted that what? Shotif is ki yored b'rishos. So shotif is like one that goes down with permission dummy. My kamashmon. Says the Gemara, what's the chiddush? That shotif is ein lechazaka. So lema shotif ein lechazaka. Why is Shmuel talking in this convoluted manner that a shotif has a din of a yored? Just say ein lechazaka. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Baravua. Loimar, you know this teaches us shenoitel b'shavach hamagil lechtafim b'sada she'nasuya lita kesada asuya lita. There's another din, says Rav Nachman or Shmuel, that Shmuel is teaching us that when he's saying that a shotvif goes down like a yored, he's teaching us that he's able to collect the shvach, the improvements hamagil lechtafim that is fully mature, that which is carried out on one's shoulders. Only in a field, even in a field, in a suya lita, like a field that's a suya lita. That's the chiddush of Shmuel that he's teaching us. If you did have a yored, not stami in the chazaka. It's true in the chazaka. But if it did have a yored with regard to which properties, which produce you're going to be able to take for the field, that you'll be able to take the mature produce, even if it's a field that's not usually used to plant. Pick it up from here, B'siyata Dishmaya.